As the week has passed, I cannot help but notice the most talked about athlete of International Fight Week has been Ben Askren. And it's been quite a wave. It started with some ha, you finally lost. And it quickly went to, boy, does Ben Askren ever handle a loss well? Boy, what's next for Ben Askren? Boy, Ben Askren's still the guy. I mean, it changed really fast. And I think that we have to look at why. Why and how? Does a guy get a record fast knockout against him and all of a sudden become more popular? I believe the answer is quite simple. I believe it's because people are seeing the real Ben Askren, which is a guy who likes to go out and entertain. He likes to antagonize because he understands the business and he understands to get his spot and make sure he has attention. He needs to do a little of that. A guy who makes weight, walks out there, does the heavy lifting, takes on anybody that's asked of him, under any rule set, in any continent, in any organization you want to do it in, and then tips his hat at the end of the night, like a sportsman would. No excuses, tip your hat, grab your stuff, shower up, and move on. I think so many times in this sport we have been let down by alleged fighters where it turned out they weren't fighters at all. They understood aggression. They understood the punches and kicks when punches and kicks weren't coming back at them, but they didn't understand fighting. They didn't understand that most basic battle that the fans and the audience can all relate to. That to be fighting, you don't have to be throwing a punch or kick at all. It may be a fight to get to a job you don't want to do. It may be a fight to show your face somewhere where you suffer embarrassment. It may be a fight because you're trying to lose weight. It may be a struggle in general just to get through the day and hold your head up. This is what fighters do. But the term fighting has become so corrupted over my lifetime that it is now about the punches and the kicks, as opposed to the most basic concept of somebody getting up when they'd rather stay down. Moving forward when they'd rather stay in the cracks. I see so many people, I must tell you, and it's very prevalent in this sport, where you see something not go a guy's way and all of a sudden he wants to turn to depression or drugs or alcohol or make excuses. My least favorite one, though, it seems to get over with the masses the best, to make up an injury after the fact, to make up he was sick after the fact. Again, when I was growing up, if you try to make that excuse, it made you look worse. In today's world, it seems to work every time. They're more than happy to have an excuse as to why their hero got beat, instead of just saying, he wasn't as good as the other guy. It's a tough sport. It's a fair competition. They do a weigh-in. They have a rule set. They agree on it. They go out and compete. And he came up short. If you go look at all of the greats' records, aside from Khabib Nurmagomedov, aside from the history of time, Khabib's the only guy that stood out that's made it to the highest of levels and is yet to be defeated. And that's in all sports, not just in this one. In boxing, they will make sure a guy stays undefeated. They will pad his record. They will bring in bums and tomato cans, do squash matches, sell it to the audience in a different way, and make sure a guy gets to 20-0. We don't do that in MMA, but guess what? Neither do other real sports. LeBron James is the best basketball player today. Has been for a meaningful period of time. LeBron James loses roughly 22 times a year. If you lost 22 times in MMA, you would be a bum. You would be done. But that's what happens to a regular guy who goes out there and competes, tips his hat, showers up, and tries again the next day. There has been seasons where LeBron has won world championships and lost over 20 games that season. There has been weeks where LeBron has won world championships and lost that same week. That same week, he will lose one, or even twice, or even three times within the course of the 2 to 3 weeks of the playoff and still win a world championship. Very common. I bring his name up just because you would recognize it. It was true for Jordan, too. True for Elway in Montana and Brady and Manning. They would lose within the season and still come out with championships, and sometimes not. Sometimes be the best guy in the world and not end up winning the big one. have to get their stuff, hit the showers, and try again tomorrow. They were fighters. They still showed their head. They still showed their face. They still tipped their hat. Inside it hurt. They put on a game face. Inside it hurt. They used it as a motivator. But the greats don't take their ball and go home. And the greats don't come out weak in the face of the cameras, of which largely they avoid, or come out with some ho-hum approach. I see that sucker's move made too. Oh, well, I guess I'm not very good. And, his training just wasn't going well. And they fire their teams. They come up with new camps, new coaches, new training environments. They're always blaming somebody else. There is nobody to blame, including yourself. Ben doesn't even need to blame himself. He did nothing wrong. It's a two-man sport. Masvidal did a great job. He tricked him. Hit him with a surprise attack. There doesn't have to be a, oh, why did this happen to me moment. Sometimes the other guy got me. That's what happened. I see guys chain camp all the time. Oh, I got to go over here now. I got to be in Iowa. Iowa has the answers. Oh, I got to be out in Pennsylvania. Those guys have the answers. Oh, I need to pack up and move to Florida. That's where the answers are. Instead of just getting up and going to practice and trusting the process and realizing it's a two-man sport. Every time you sit down at the table, you have a reasonable expectation to lose. 50-50. Not great odds, but the odds that we play by. So when Ben is gaining this esteem, there was a question. How can he deal with defeat? Don't forget, he's lost his last 2 competitions. He's lost 2 times in the last 6 weeks. The one to Jordan Burroughs didn't faze him at all. The one to George Masvidal didn't faze him at all. Learned something new. Never had a flying knee thrown at him. Great job, George. Hey, by the way, Dana, who do I got next and when is it? What a refreshing attitude. Ben Askren has been a refreshing attitude to this sport from the beginning, and now he dealt with something that he'd never dealt with before, and nobody knew for sure how he would respond to it. And he dealt with it refreshingly, with something new. So many guys beat the same drum. Oh, ho-hum. Oh, poor me. Oh, I'm set. That one's been played out. Maybe the first guy to ever do that at the beginning of time got people to throw an arm around him and cheered him up. Maybe that happened, but over time, it's played and it's boring. It's the same thing as guys copying Conor McGregor. There was only room on that stage for one guy with an accent and a bow tie. Get your own gimmick. If you're copying somebody else's, no matter how redundant it may seem, it's going to be mundane and boring and dull. For asking him to come out and do something different, show his face, be himself, tip his hat, no hard feelings, move on to the next one. Good job, George, and by the way, good luck in your next one, was a breath of fresh air. And it's something that will make you stop and watch because it's new. And it hasn't been done, and it's not played, and it's not tired. It's sincere, and it's real, and it's the way it's supposed to be done. It's the way competition is supposed to go. If you meet a guy who is 50-0 in any sport, it's highly suspicious that either he's not in a real sport or the fix is in.